This video focuses on review of inequality symbols and graphing those on a number line. So you can decide if you'd like to write down this slide in your notes. To review the symbols of our inequalities, the first one that I'm writing on here in the blue is greater than. The second one is less than. Now the next two below have a line underneath them, so they all include that number. So it's greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. That's how we verbally describe an inequality. There are some graphing rules. Depending on your Algebra 2 teacher or Algebra 1 teacher, you may have used open circles or parentheses for these two, greater than or less than. The next set is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, then you'd either use a closed circle or a bracket. Remember the top two do not include the number, so they are open circle or parentheses. The bottom two have a line underneath it, so they include that number, so you can either do a closed circle or a bracket when you graph it on a number line. This next slide is now practicing graphing inequalities and rewriting them into interval notation. If I do go too fast, please make sure you pause and then restart your video. The first example, A, how you verbally say this inequality is all real numbers greater than two. That's how you verbally describe it. What we're going to do next is we're going to graph it on a number line. So I'm just going to pick a few numbers on our number line, maybe 0, 1, 2, and 3. And how I remember when it's greater than or less than is either Pac-Man or alligator mouth. If it's eating the variable, it's greater than. If it's eating the number, it's less than. So this does not include the number 2. So we do open circle or parentheses. And it is greater than. So we're going to go to the right when we create our line. So you can either do the parentheses or the open circle. How we write it in interval notation is we start at the farthest left number, which is 2, comma, to the farthest right number, which is positive infinity. It does not stop. So we put a parentheses here and a parentheses here. I was going to ask you, does it include a bounded or an unbounded interval? Since this graph goes off to the right forever to positive infinity, this graph is unbounded, an unbounded interval. Let's go on to example B. Example B, how you say this is x is less than or equal to -3. So you verbally describe it as all real numbers less than or equal to -3. Notice that that Pac-Man mouth or alligator mouth is eating the number, so it is less than. And it has a line underneath that inequality, so it is equal to that number. Now let's go ahead and create a number line graph. We have -3, -2, -1, 0. Just a few numbers there you need. We're going to include that -3. So you do an open or closed circle. And it is less than. So we're going to go off to the left. Or a bracket going off to the left because it is getting smaller. And it's going off to -infinity. Now to write it as an interval, we start at the farthest left on the number line, which is -infinity, comma, to the farthest right where it stops at -3. Now we're going to go ahead and put a parentheses here and a bracket there. Whenever you're talking infinities with interval notation, you just put parentheses. Now this graph, also just like example A, is an unbounded interval. It starts at -infinity and then stops at -3. Example C. This is what we call a compound inequality. How you say this or describe it is x is greater than -2 and less than or equal to 4. So this is a compound inequality. Now let's go ahead and graph it. So our smallest number is -2. Let's put a 0 here. And then our largest number is 4. So when we graph it on a number line, we have a closed circle at 4 and open circle at -2. They are going to go between each other. X is greater than -2, but less than 4, or equal to 4. If you wanted it as parentheses and brackets, here's your parenthesis, there's your bracket. Now the type of interval the farthest number to the left is -2. The farthest right stops at 4. We have a parenthesis and a bracket. Now this is the first one where it's now considered bounded because it goes from -2 to 4. It stops. It doesn't go on forever in one direction or the other. So we call this bounded. Our last example on the slide, question D, has 10 greater than x, is how you read it. I recommend to my students to always write your variable first with an inequality, then the number, and now notice the direction of the inequality. It is eating the number. It's not eating the variable. So how we say that at describing it is x is less than 10. Now to graph it, here's 9, 10, 11. X is less than 10. So open circle, less means it's going to the left, or a parentheses going off to the left, and it's going off to -infinity. So it starts at -infinity and then stops just a little before 10. Now to write this as a interval, the farthest left is -infinity, comma, the farthest right where it stops is at a little before 10. Parentheses here, parentheses there. This is also considered an unbounded interval because it goes off in the left side to -infinity.